I used to think that I just needed more discipline, but the reality was I was trapped in a cycle that I didn't even see. So, my name is Krishna. I'm a guy who quit his porn addiction after struggling with it for many, many years. And I'm someone who's just teaching the lessons that I just recently learned. And so I make these videos so that you can quit too. And hopefully, you don't have to suffer as much as I did. One of the things that happened, and this is pretty common amongst a lot of people who quit porn, is that they get stuck in the cycle of shame. I remember when I was trying to quit porn many, many years ago, I would constantly get to day 3 or day 4, and then I would relapse. Every single time, it would be day 3, day 4, relapse again. Day 3, day 4, relapse again. And I would constantly think, okay, I have to get to at least 1 week. I couldn't even make it 3 days without busting a nut, right? And this went on for months and months. I thought that I just wasn't disciplined enough. That's all I thought. I thought, all right, I kind of just suck, which I did. I did suck. And then suddenly, I remember once I finally understood this cycle that I'm about to teach you, I got from 3 days to 1 month. 1 month, that's actually crazy progress. Think about it. If you've been fapping every single day and the longest you could go without fapping was 3 days, and then you get 1 month, that's huge. And then after that 1 month, I just stopped. And I haven't watched porn in probably like 2 or 3 years. I'm not saying this to bloat or to stroke my ego or to say I'm better than anybody else. I'm just sharing with you the experiences that I had and the cycle that I would constantly get stuck in is the cycle of shame. And this is, this can be applied to any other addiction as well, but I'm specifically talking about porn here. The first step to this cycle of shame, right? Step 1 is the trigger, right? And the trigger could be anything. It could be loneliness, it could be sadness, it could be boredom, right? Boredom was common for me. It could be sadness, it could be, I don't know, it could be like a trauma flashback or something like that. There's some kind of trigger that causes an event to occur, right? Then what happens is you get the desire for escape, right? We feel the sadness, we feel the depression, we feel the loneliness, we feel whatever it is. And we're like, I don't like this at all. I don't like this feeling. I don't like feeling sad. I don't like feeling lonely. I'm going to escape this. Right? That's step 2. So step 1 is the trigger. Step 2 is the desire for escape. The third step is actually taking action on that. So we want to escape whatever negative emotion we're feeling. So we watch porn, right? Now, some people, they turn to alcohol, they turn to video games. Video games was another big one for me. They turn to vaping. They turn to some kind of drug. They turn to weed, whatever it is. We take this action and then we experience a temporary relief, right? Because after, when we're watching porn, we feel good. We feel pretty good, right? It's pleasurable. And then what happens? Right after you watch porn, right after you bust a nut, what happens? The post nut clarity hits you every single time without fail. There's never been one time when I've watched porn and then I felt good about myself for watching it. You know what I mean? You think to yourself right afterwards, you think to yourself, why did I do that? I'm such a failure. I'm such a loser. I'm so lonely, whatever it is, right? And then what happens is you get self-hatred and you get loneliness. That's the same negative feeling that triggered the action that you had to take. And then the cycle repeats, right? So we get the trigger, we get the desire for escape, we get the actions taken. After we take the actions, we get regret, we get the shame and guilt, we get the self-hatred, and then we start the cycle all over again, and that triggers us to, again, take the action, right? You've probably experienced this yourself, right? You're sitting in your room, you're bored as fuck, it's after school, you got a bunch of homework that you have to do, you got a bunch of work that you have to do, you don't want to do it. I didn't want to do shit. And I was like, all right, I'm bored, I'm scrolling on my phone on Instagram, let me go watch porn. Because when I was bored, I would instantly get horny. That's what would happen. You felt this too. You're just sitting there, you just suddenly get randomly horny. But you're not horny, you're just freaking bored, right? Your brain is looking for something to stimulate itself. For me, that was either video games or that was porn. And I turned to porn a lot. Every single time after I would do it, it would hit me like a truck. So how do you deal with this? How do you solve this? Well, the way that I solved it is to learn to feel feelings again. What I mean by this is that whatever emotion that you have, sadness, loneliness, depression, anxiety, this can go for any emotion actually. Happiness, joy, whatever emotion you're feeling, just feel it fully. Don't suppress it. Don't say, oh yeah, it's bad that I'm angry, or, I shouldn't feel sad because of this and this and this. You're feeling sad for a reason, aren't you? Our body's smart. Like, millions and millions of years of evolution have created you right now. Our body's pretty smart. It's very, very wise. Like, your body will tell you, when something's wrong with you, right? Like when you get sick, your body's going to let you know, like, hey, we're not doing so good right now. You're going to get the sniffles, your throat's going to be sore, you're going to feel tired. That's your body signaling to you, hey, we don't feel so good. Same thing with emotion, right? When we get angry, our body's like, hey, we're feeling angry right now. And that's okay. That's completely fine. There's nothing wrong with feeling angry or sad or happy, right? There's nothing wrong with feeling these things. You should feel them, and you should feel them fully. But you shouldn't let your emotions change your behavior in a significant way, because, there's two ends to the spectrum, right? One end is men should be more in touch with their feelings, meaning that men should be emotional. What does that mean? That means that if we feel something, we should go and act on it. I disagree. I don't think so. Why? Because if we tactically think about this, if we logically play this out, if I feel angry and I feel like hitting somebody, that should mean that I should go hit whatever person I'm angry at. That's stupid. Of course. When you're angry, you don't go and hit another human being. Of course that makes sense. So we shouldn't be emotional. Now, the other side of this, right, the other side of the spectrum is like the stoic people who they think that emotional control is emotional suppression. And I don't think that's the case. Because I've been on both sides of this. Me personally, I've been on both sides. And I remember for a long time, I was raised to think like emotions are bad, you shouldn't feel them, they're a waste of time. That's what I was raised to think. And when I got into self-improvement and I found the gym and I found like all this this alpha male culture or whatever, they were pretty big into that. And I followed that for a while. I suppressed whatever feelings I was feeling. And it actually made my life worse. It was actually a bigger waste of time to not feel those feelings than it was to feel them fully. Because I sometimes I get sad about something. And I just, I sit there and I'm like, okay, I'm sad about this thing. I feel the sadness and then I let the emotion pass. I feel the anger, I feel the disappointment, whatever it is, right? I feel it. I let it pass through me. And then I use my logical brain to think, all right, what can I do from here? That's what helped me, right? And I think that's the middle ground. That's the extreme balance, right? It's emotional intelligence. Now, I'm not the peak thing of emotional intelligence or anything, but this is just what I've experienced. And I found that when you feel an emotion and you let it pass through you, right? You let the emotion pass. It's like a wave, right? I found that it actually saves a lot of time. It saves time, right? It's also much healthier to do because emotions getting like stuck within you, it is actually a thing. Because what happens when we bottle up our emotions for a long time? I remember a couple of years ago, family and I were having some family problems. We were having some beef within the family. And I had a bunch of mixed feelings about it. I was sad, I was angry, I was frustrated, whatever. And I remember going on a walk with my mother in the wooded area nearby our house. We have a trail nearby our house. So me and my mom were like, all right, let's just go for a walk. What started off as a peaceful walk ended up turning into just like a screaming argument about like the whole family thing. We were yelling at each other, we were crying, we were screaming, right? And then we sat down on a bench near a lake that was on the trail that we were taking. And we felt better. Why? Because we dealt with the emotion that was within us. And that emotion was pent up and it was bottled up within both of us. And that's what led to the argument. That's not a good thing. You don't want to do that. So, again, I'll bring it back. Whatever emotion that we're feeling, the loneliness, the boredom, the sadness, we should feel it because that's a sign that our body is telling us that this, like something is happening. We feel it and we don't act on it. I might feel like watching porn. I might feel like having sex. I might feel like viewing that type of content, but I'm not going to do it because just because you have an emotion, just because you feel something doesn't mean you need to act on it. You know what I'm saying? How I felt towards an activity of instant gratification. So porn, junk food, video games, etc. My life has gotten worse every single time. It was always a net negative at the end of the day, right? Whatever emotion you're feeling, feel it. There's nothing wrong with you for feeling those feelings. There's absolutely nothing wrong. Now, once you feel them, then go do something about it, right? We use our analytical and our logical brain to think, okay, what can I do from here? What actions can I take? If you're bored, you feel the boredom. And then you just go do shit. You go read a book. You go literally go for a walk. That's it. Like all you have to do is just go for a walk. That's it. You could just do that. And I guarantee you that the urges will just, they'll just go away. They will. Because oftentimes when we try to repress an emotion, we actually feel it more strongly. Because I want you to think about this. Don't think of an elephant. You couldn't, right? Like our brain, like I heard, I think, what's his name? Simon Sinek, I believe that's his name. I think he gave this example of like, don't think of an elephant. And I'm pretty sure that every single person who was at the event where he said that thought about an elephant. Why? Because he said that our brains can't comprehend the negative. And I was like, huh, that's interesting. Because if you say, I am not X, I am not a pink elephant, I'm not a pink elephant, I'm not a pink elephant, all you're thinking about is this person and the pink elephant. That's it. When we feel a feeling and we think, I'm not angry, I'm not angry, I'm not angry, I'm not sad, I'm not sad, I shouldn't be sad. Being sad is bad, right? We just feel it more strongly. That's what it is. And another insight that I got recently, which I think applies to this, is that punishment decreases in its effectiveness over time. So when I first heard this, I was like, okay, punishment decreases in effectiveness over time. What does that mean? Think about every single time that you said you would stop watching porn, right? You said, all right, you fapped, you busted nut, whatever, right? Post nut clarity, et cetera, et cetera. You think, all right, this is the last time I'm doing this. I'm never going to do this again. This is ruining my life. I hate this. I feel like a loser. I feel like a failure. I'm never going to watch porn again. I'm never going to fap again. You've probably said this to yourself. I remember saying this to myself a bunch of times. And guess what happens the very next day? You do it again, right? Why? Because punishment decreases in its effectiveness over time, right? The punishment and feeling the regret afterwards. You don't remember that when you're horny. You don't remember that, right? All you remember is like, the feel good times of watching two other people have sex. So I thought that was really interesting. And that can also apply to a lot of other things. It can apply to like relationships. Like I think a lot of people, when they miss their ex, they think about all the good times. They don't think necessarily about the bad times, which is why they left in the first place. So the actionable step that I have for you is figure out what your triggers are. The things that trigger you to watch porn, the things that trigger you to take that certain action. What are your triggers? For me, it was boredom, sitting at home after school, scrolling on my phone. Huge, huge trigger. Another one would be, and this was more just in the background of my life, which was just loneliness, right? And even though I had friends, I still felt alone during that time because I would play video games with these friends. I would hop on calls with them. I would always feel like the odd one out, right? I would always feel that way. I would always feel lonely. I would always feel like I didn't belong, deserved to be there, if that makes any sense. Again, this is not me asking for pity. This is just me sharing with you my own personal experience. So hopefully it can help you. So loneliness was a big one for me. Yeah, sadness, depression, right? And I remember like the things that I used to do, man. It's like I don't even know if I can say them on this. I don't even know if I want to. And the content that I used to watch, the stuff that I used to do to myself, to put it plainly. I just wanted to feel something, and that's it. That's all I wanted to do because I felt nothing. And it was like an underlying emptiness, right? It's more so emptiness than sadness. And so that, again, that was a big trigger. So what are your triggers and how can you deal with them, right? So it's not just about saying, oh yeah, I feel sad, whatever. Feeling sad, fine. But what can we do about it? If we feel bored, well, then we should go get up and do something. Pretty simple, right? If we feel lonely, then maybe we should go outside and talk to more people. It's incredibly easy to say, and it's incredibly hard to actually do. Another tip that I have for this is if the next time you get that feeling, and all right, what can I do for this feeling? If it's boredom, then I should go get up and do something. It's very hard. I completely understand. You might be thinking like, okay, yeah, but there's probably nothing I could do. And two, it's just hard. These are the thoughts that might be running through your head right now. First one is like, there's nothing you could do. There's absolutely something you could do. Absolutely. Even if it's just going for a walk outside, even if it's just doing a few push ups, even if it's just like reading a book, going and talking to your dad, talking to your mom, talking to your family, doing those assignments that you've been skipping, doing that work that you've been avoiding. There's nothing I could do. There's so much shit that you could do. You just don't want to do it. Biggest thing I would say for that one is instead of focusing on, oh, I have to do this big task. Oh, I have to go outside. I have to put on my shoes. I have to go outside of my house and touch grass. Instead of thinking about that, a useful frame of mind for me was thinking about just the next step, meaning, all right, if I'm sitting on the couch or if I'm sitting on my computer chair and I'm watching Instagram Reels, I'm scrolling on Instagram, looking at naked women, right? Because Instagram is basically just softcore porn. I would be like, all right, I'm going to stop doing this and I'm just going to focus on getting up off of my chair, right? I get up off my chair. All right, now that I'm up off my chair, what do? All right, I walk to my bedroom door and I open it. All right, open my door out of my bedroom. Now what? All right, I go downstairs, right? Like I would think like step by step, micro step by micro step, just focusing on the next step. Because when we focus on the small steps, we can actually accomplish a lot. At least that's what helped me, right? And yeah, find your triggers. So that's the journal prompt that I would give you is what are my triggers? First one, and how can I deal with them? How can you deal with boredom? Well, get up and do something. How can you deal with loneliness? Well, go outside and connect with other people. How can you deal with sadness and depression? Well, sadness and depression, in my experience, comes from a lack of meaning. If depression is emptiness, well, what's the cure to emptiness? It's fulfillment, right? So, find things that are fulfilling for you. Go out and try new things. Go and try a new sport, right? Go and try a new hobby. It's actually not that complicated to deal with these types of triggers. If we just think 2 steps ahead, right? If we just keep asking ourselves, all right, what's next after this? Well, then I think we could probably find our answer. That's my 2 cents. If you want the full protocol that I used to quit with a step-by-step system that you can follow so that you don't have to constantly second guess yourself, if you want the full step-by-step protocol, then that's in the first link in the description below. Please click the first link in the description below. Take care, man.